The annual report.
Good afternoon, conference. I want to give a really warm welcome to all the delegates who are attending this year's conference, both physically here in Brighton, but also virtually. Annual Delegate Conference is the set-piece date on the PCS calendar, and it's you, our members, who play a pivotal role as we set the agenda for the next 12 months. For those of you who are returning to conference, welcome back, and for first-time delegates here this week, it's great to have you here. We want as many members involved in the democratic and policy-making processes as possible, so to see these new faces here today is hugely encouraging. I have no doubt that you will get the conference bug, not that kind of bug, and that this will be your first visit of many. Conference, it's a real privilege to address you for the first time as the General Secretary of PCS. It is an honour that members have put their faith in me, and let me assure you, I will not let you down. Building, growing, and ultimately winning for members are the core principles that I believe in, and as we've heard already, underpinning all of this is the need for unity. Because without it, everybody loses. And what the past 12 months have shown more clearly than ever is that when we unite, there is no stopping us. It was thanks to the action that our members took during our national campaign last year that we forced the government to make historic concessions. For the first time, the pay remit guidance that covers our members' pay was increased, and it wasn't just increased, it was more than doubled. Plus, we secured a cost of living payment of £1,500. All 212 bargaining areas, except for 2, have made good on that payment. We were clear that no area would be left behind, and we are doing everything we can to get those last 2 areas to do the right thing for our members. In National Highways, we're negotiating hard with the employer to make sure that they do the right thing by their workers and pay that lump sum. And in National Museums Liverpool, we have just announced a further 30 days of strike action. Members there have already been on strike for more than 60 days, so let's show our solidarity with a cheer that can be heard all the way to Merseyside. Thanks, conference. Another crucial victory for our national campaign was on the issue of redundancy pay. The government was planning to cut the civil service compensation scheme by an eye-watering 33%, but as part of the concessions, they dropped that. Those wins on pay and compensation scheme are unprecedented and are a vindication of the strategy and decisive steps taken by the NEC over the last year. It was that mix of highly effective targeted action and all-member action which forced the government's hand and put money in the pockets of our members. For the first time in the history of PCS, that was achieved. Elsewhere, this rotten government continues to attack our members on other fronts. On pensions, members are still overpaying, and the government is disgracefully insisting that it's you who pays to clean up the mess that they have made. We began legal proceedings alongside other public sector unions at the Court of Appeal, and although ultimately the judgment didn't go our way, we will keep fighting to put an end to the great pensions robbery. And not content with presiding over the injustice on your pensions, they're now coming for your jobs as well. The report of 70,000 civil service job cuts being at risk to pay for a rise in defence spending is deeply worrying. But what it shows is a desperate and decaying government that is using the livelihoods of our members in a pathetic pre-election gimmick. We will fight it with everything that we have got, just as we did with similar plans announced under Boris Johnson. We fought and won before, and we will do so again. Conference winning as a united union has been a key theme over the past year. From our historic national campaign to localised disputes, we've shown that unity has driven our success. And I want to take a few minutes to talk about those victories. Outsourced ISS workers at Bays took part in an industrial action campaign which resulted in a pay settlement of between 5 and 8% alongside a range of HR improvements. At OCS, at the courts and the tribunal service, their action secured a 2-year pay settlement with significant rises for the low paid. In other disputes involving the outsourced company OCS, members at UKNI forced to climb down from the employer over its plans to implement a revised pay date that would have created financial hardship. We have had a number of important victories in all areas that involved our outsourced members in the civil service. not just this year, but over a number of years. Outsourcing is a scourge on society, and we've been clear that it must come to an end with all workers and services brought back in-house. Services like the ones our members keep running should be for the good of the public that use them, not for lining the pockets of shareholders. Elsewhere at the Palace of Westminster, PCS members working as security saw plans to impose detrimental rosters dropped after they voted for strike action. At BDUK, an executive agency of the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, our campaign there resulted in the employer making the same historic concessions as those in our national campaign. More disputes across the union too: the pensions regulator, the Parliamentary Health Service Ombudsman, the Mayor's Office, the National Museum of Wales, the Library, the CQC, the Audit Wales, the DVLA and MOJ Northern Ireland. That I'm able to present such a list is a testament to the effective action that we have taken, and it is precisely that effectiveness that has seen our movement attack relentlessly for decades, where we're faced with some of the most restrictive anti-trade union laws in Western Europe. And were it not for the restrictions, we would be celebrating this national ballot result as an important victory. But the anti-democratic laws, including the turnout thresholds, are holding unions back. Despite all of this, we need to be pragmatic and objective in the work that we do now to interpret and analyse the results. Because speaking frankly, some results were disappointing. We need to reflect on where our organisational weaknesses are and look together at how we can do things differently. And conference, I implore that this vital task of reflection be done in a comradely way. It would be a shame if the ballot result was used to score points. There's simply too much at stake for that. Although the kettling of our movement poses a significant challenge, we see it as an opportunity to improve how we organise. Because this conference, this government has seen the gains of our movement has made in recent years, and to put it mildly, they are terrified. So now our movement faces one of the gravest ever threats in the form of minimum service legislation. And despite what ministers may say, that legislation has nothing to do with preventing disruption or protecting the services that the public rely on. Just one look at crumbling schools, overstretched NHS and a broken rail system puts paid to any notion that this government has the best interests of the public at heart. The legislation is about one thing and one thing only: restricting the right to strike and our members' ability to fight back against low pay and bad bosses. If they were serious about heading off strike action, they would start by immediately giving workers a fair pay rise. The Tory game plan is clear: pay workers poverty wages, make it illegal for them to do anything about it. And our members in the Border Force have the MSL legislation hanging over them, which is some of the most restrictive. Strikes are now required to have no impact, which for all intents and purposes is an outright ban. When we put that to the Home Office, their response was that that wasn't their interpretation. We'll pull the other one. I don't know what's harder to believe, that nonsense from the Home Office or one of Keir Starmer's pledges. Well, we will not be taken for fools, and that is why we met with our solicitors, Thompsons, and their view is that there is a potential infringement of Article 11 of the European Convention of Human Rights. So I'm proud that once again PCS is leading the fight back. We were recently granted permission to the High Court to pursue a judicial review of the government's decision to impose minimum service levels. Our track record of winning in the court speaks for itself, so let's hope we can add that one to the record. So our message to the government is this: we will see you in court. But despite all the bluster from the government, our members at Heathrow, who are on strike earlier this month and will be once again, haven't been hit with any work notices yet. I have no doubt that the coalition of resistance that we have built together has put immense pressure on employers, but we cannot rest on our laurels. They may not have used them on PCS members this time, but they will relish the opportunity to do it. So conference, be in no doubt that we will continue fighting this disgraceful legislation as we work together to build a campaign of defiance. The latest attack on a fundamental human right comes during the year we remember when another Tory government posed a terminal threat to our movement. In 1984, 14 civil servants working at GCHQ in Cheltenham lost their jobs. Their reason? For simply being members of a trade union. 14 workers fought back, and what became one of the longest and most high-profile disputes disputes in the movement. After 10 years of campaigning across the movement, the ban was lifted in 1997. It was a momentous victory, but that such a campaign was needed to protect a basic human right is shameful. And 4 decades on, here we are again, with a rotten Tory government taking a sledgehammer to our members' rights. We won that 4 decades ago, and we will resist and we will win again. Another area where the union has made everyone proud is our work on tackling the government's appalling treatment of asylum seekers and refugees. First, we took a stand against the despicable plans to turn back boats. Our members fought back, and thanks to the pressure, the government ditched the policy. Then the government came back for another go with the cruel Rwanda plan. Rather than opening our arms to the desperate and the vulnerable, this rotten government wants to kick them onto a one-way flight 4,000 miles away. But again, our members spoke up and fought back. In a fight alongside refugee and human rights groups that went all the way to the Supreme Court, the policy was eventually deemed unlawful. And I could not be prouder to say that thanks to PCS, not a single flight containing a single asylum seeker has left for Rwanda. I want to pay special tribute to Paul O'Connor, who led our brilliant work on this. But as we know, this nasty government is relentless in its pursuit to punish refugees. The Rwanda bill is now law, and the Home Office have already begun rounding up asylum seekers and sending them to deportation centres. You can certainly tell there's a general election around the corner. Well, our union, its members, and this movement will not stand for it. The lives of people who have been through hell should not be toyed with for a reprehensible election stunt. It seems the lives of asylum seekers aren't just a plaything for the political class, they're for the capitalist class too. It was announced last week that the businessman Graham King, whose firm houses and transports asylum seekers, broke into the Sunday Times rich list. The firm is paid an astonishing £3.5 million every single day, and the owner is now worth over £750 million. What a grubby state of affairs. In stark contrast, it's this union and our members that have the moral conviction to do what's right. So the message from this conference is clear. In our fight back against your demonisation of refugees and asylum seekers, absolutely nothing is off the table. We have led the way in standing up for refugees, and we've done the same on the appalling onslaught on Gaza. Last week marked 76 years since the Nakba, and here we are, 3/4 of a century later, watching another catastrophic, horrifying Nakba unfold before our very eyes. And this is a Nakba fit for the 21st century, because we are witnessing on our mobile phones in real time the obliteration of hospitals, homes, and human beings with high-tech weaponry made here in the UK. So I want to give a massive shout out to our brave members in Bayes London South Branch and the newly formed DBT department that are responsible for arms licensing, for bringing this issue to the union's attention and raising concerns that the British government may be culpable in an act of genocide. We are currently in talks with our lawyers. We are currently in talks with our lawyers to explore the potential judicial review to halt that work in its tracks. This union will continue fighting for Palestinian freedom for as long as it takes, and we will never shy away from being that voice. And in the face of personal attacks from the press, I will never stop being that voice. They've attacked me, they've attacked Jeremy Corbyn, they've attacked Charlotte Church, and they've attacked so many others. So let me be perfectly clear. If they think they can silence people with a form of journalism that belongs in the gutter, they have got another thing coming. Under my leadership, this union will be the voice that reminds the Labour Party of its purpose and who they're supposed to represent. After nearly a decade and a half of misery, we need a Labour government that will tackle the issues our members face head on and face them immediately. People want to look to a future that's filled with hope and optimism, and our class has been through much to be let down again. A big thank you goes out to everybody who makes this week possible. It's a real team effort, and all of your hard work doesn't go unnoticed, so thank you to you all. In fact, a huge shout out to all of our PCS staff. We employ fantastic staff who work so hard for you all the year round to support our reps and members, and I've been particularly grateful the way that you've welcomed me into my new role and the support that so many have given me. There are a few staff members in particular that I want to mention, though, for whom this will be their last conference. conference. Firstly, Lorraine, Liz and Teresa from my office will all be leaving us. They have been the backbone of the General Secretary Office for so many years, and I will be eternally grateful that all three agreed to stay on to support me during my transition into my new role when they had all made plans to leave at the same time as my amazing predecessor, Mark Sawatka. Karen Foster, who leaves us to spend more time in the beautiful countryside of Oban. Karen has held so many roles, and I want to thank her on behalf of all of us for the role that she has played within PCS. And Steve Farley will also be leaving PCS, having worked for us since 1992. Steve has been a huge source of support and encouragement for me in particular, supporting me every year through conferences during my time as president, both DWP and national. I hope you all enjoy your retirements and your world-famous honey, but let's talk more about that later. That is PCS honey, by the way. Congratulations to our new president, Martin Kavanagh, who worked tirelessly for PCS, and although DWP colleagues will be sad to see you go as their group president, their loss is our gain. Your powerful words on the importance of unity for PCS as we enter a new era are very much welcomed. So conference, it's been an eventful 12 months to say the least, and as we look ahead, the unity that has been spoken about already should run through everything we do, because disunity doesn't go unnoticed by employers, the government, or indeed by our members. This union and the country are entering a new era. After a decade and a half of decline, this is a chance for us to reflect, reset and reinvigorate. Let's have a fruitful and fraternal conference. Let's look ahead to the next year with the same determination and fortitude that has served us so well in the past. Thank you so much, conference. I move the annual report.
Okay, thanks, Fran. Does conference agree to endorse the annual report?